Yeah, what is going on? All right, now the show can officially begin. It is our Sunday night edition of the RCWR Show for April 30th, 2017. I am, of course, the one and only Lee Sanders, welcoming you all to this installment as we're talking WWE. What is it? Payback? Yeah, I was about to say some other pay-per-view, but no, we're talking WWE Payback, the 2017 edition. Want to hear from you all, so interact with me for the next little bit. I am on Twitter, Facebook at the RCWR Show. Make sure you give me those thumbs up, give me the likes, the shares, retweets, all that good jazz, man. Wow, so I spent the extra couple of minutes not getting in front of all this just yet because I was a little bit curious what exactly was going to be happening with Raw Talk. I actually had stuck it out for just a couple of minutes, and it was well worth it because, once again, I'm not finished with you yet. I'll get into that in a quick second, but my God, can we I know we're going to kind of go a little bit back and forth with regards to the coverage of this event, but just the way that it ended, I got to tell you, I love that. Nothing gave me more of a smile on my face than to see Braun Strowman once again destroy the living hell out of Roman Reigns. And I told you guys off and on, I've loved both of these guys, both of them. I have high expectations of them. And like I told you when I was offering match predictions on the show earlier this week, I said, my God, man, it's like picking out which one of your sons is your most favorite. Don't make me choose which son is my favorite, man. I can't do that. But if you're going to make me do it, I guess I got to go with Braun Strowman. I mean, after seeing the ass whooping that Braun Strowman dished out to my man Roman Reigns tonight, I don't know about you all, but I am just itching at the fingertips to hop on WWE Shop and get a new Braun Strowman t-shirt. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. In particular, I'm gonna wait till I get paid, and then I'm gonna go treat myself after I get done shipping some stuff off to some folks, taking care of some bills. I'm getting me my Braun Strowman t-shirt. I don't know about you all. Shout out to those of you that's able to take advantage of the current WWE deal that's going on for at least another hour on the East Coast, maybe a couple of hours if you're over on the West Coast. Buy 2 shirts at regular price, get a 3rd shirt, if I'm not mistaken, for just $1. You can't beat that deal. Not a WWE Shop affiliate. I'm just giving you guys some really good news right there. So if you're in the ballpark looking for some cool merch, got about hour to 3 hours left to make it happen, man. But seeing Braun Strowman destroy the hell out of Roman Reigns, honestly, I was not surprised at how that match had went, considering storyline-wise how everything was playing out over the course of a couple of weeks. We had heard the news about Roman Reigns having some type of a dislocated shoulder. Then we also had heard about him having internal rib injury, all that jazz. Okay, so he's not at 100%. And yet he's going on ahead and he's trying to do this match. Yeah, that ain't really going to be happening. There's no way he's going to be able to walk into the SAP Center in California and pick up the win. There's no way that that's going to come about. No way, especially the way that they were hyping it up. And I feel sorry for those of you that wanted to go in the direction of, oh, no, Roman's going to get this, especially with the whole, his older brother had passed away. Now, look, granted, there was a big part of me that deep down, I really wanted for Roman to pick up the W, but there was another part of me that also was kind of going, well, what direction do you go exactly after this? And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, for those of you that had checked out my Call That Match edition, if I'm not mistaken, this was some of the issues that I had tackled, and I do believe I had went on ahead and said Braun was going to pick up the win. If I'm incorrect on that, somebody let me know, but I'm pretty, I won't say certain, but I could have sworn I had went with Braun given the circumstances surrounding that match, because just gimmick-wise, I could not see Roman Reigns walking out of tonight as the victor. So I was not surprised at the finish to the match. I mean, it took a couple of scoop power slams from Braun Strowman to get the job done. But then to add more insult to injury, we see my man, the monster among men, take a steel step into the ring. And then he just picks my man Roman Reigns up and just abdominal region first, slams him into the top edge part, that hard edge like part, not the steps. I'm talking about on the side. made his abs connect with that. That pretty much was like, okay, that's insult to injury number one. And then the second blow came when Braun Strowman picked up the steel steps. And this time, by the bottom step, pretty much rammed that right into the ribs, stomach area of Roman Reigns again, made him instantly cough up that blood. I have got to tell you that as long as I have been watching Roman Reigns in the WWE leading up until now, I've never seen Roman Reigns in such a position where he has been just decimated, where he has just been manhandled by somebody, where he has just honestly been bitched out. That's quite simply put. That's the best way I can lay it out. I have not seen this before with Roman Reigns. And I got to tell you, I like this new layer that is unraveling with the Roman Reigns character, because it's like here you had like this unstoppable force of a man who, mind you, is the second man in WrestleMania history to defeat The Undertaker, right? Only other guy that can claim that is Brock Lesnar. But here is a situation where, like, even when briefly Roman Reigns had butted heads with Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns never received an ass whooping quite like what he has been getting coming to him at the hands of a Braun Strowman the past few times that they've met up. It seems like Braun just keeps upping the ante, right? So for me to see these new layers that are just unraveling here with regards to the Braun Strowman character, I got to tell you, it's freaking ridiculous. It is freaking ridiculous. I'm loving it. I am freaking loving it, man. I've never seen anything like this before in the Roman Reigns character in quite some time. And all I have to say to the WWE is, my pretty babies, keep it coming along. I'm loving it. I love reading some of the tweets that was coming about from some of the folks that were seeing all this play out with Roman Reigns. And they were like, my God, the crowd, they're so heartless. They're so cruel. And it's like, well, you got to really understand where they're coming from. And that would be an entirely different show for an entirely different other time. But if I can just make a few quick bullet points, take it for what it's worth. The fans that are feeling the way that they feel about the Roman Reigns character, they know what this man has personally been going through. They know he has had a rough couple of weeks in his personal life with the passing of his older brother and all. They definitely, for the most part, majority of the fans can separate the man from the character. But what they vocally have a problem with right now is the character and the way the character has just continued to be shoved down their throats. And anybody that wants to believe that maybe Vince McMahon was in the back leading up to this match going, I'll tell you what'll make the fans really feel compassionate about Roman Reigns. Let's get him busted open. Let's get him nice and bloody. Yeah, that'll make the fans really cheer. That'll make the fans feel sympathy for Roman. That's out the window. I think the time of backfiring, I truly believe it came at the hands. I want to say the pivotal moment came a couple of weeks back when Braun viciously attacked Roman backstage with the whole ambulance. I think that's where officially that probably made Vince McMahon and crew go, well, maybe we're kind of going about this a different way. We're really trying to go with Roman here, but it really kind of comes off like the fans really love them some Braun. Okay, well, maybe we can kind of put Roman a little bit on the back burner, and maybe we can give this young man Braun a shot. So I think if you want to look at pivotal moments, I think that was the turn of the tides right there. And I don't believe that what we saw tonight was a situation where it was a backfire, if you will, on my man Roman Reigns. I don't see it. And if you also remember what I said on the show earlier this week, I said now comes a very pivotal moment where no matter what comes about with this respected matchup, you have to separate these two, at least for now. And I told you all a scenario could play out where they lock up again as early as SummerSlam. So, and I believe in my heart right now, based how everything had played about, especially considering what went down with Raw Talk as soon as the pay-per-view event went off the air, I'm really under the impression that these two, they're going to be spaced out for now, but they're going to be locking it up at SummerSlam, and I'm actually okay for that. And if anybody can help me out in the chat or on the Spreaker chats, let me know what month SummerSlam is. I just need to know the month. I don't need to know the exact date, because there's part of me that's thinking maybe, just maybe, it's a long shot. Now, I know Roman Reigns anti-fans, people that just hate his guts, they'll probably just relish in this if it means that they don't have to see Roman for a significant amount of time on their TV. But I'm curious when SummerSlam is, because considering everything that has been coming about with Roman the past couple of weeks, I honestly would not be surprised if Roman Reigns took a little bit of time off to really properly mourn the loss of his brother, maybe check in with the family, make sure they're all okay, rest up a little bit. Yeah, because he's been going at it kind of hard, quite honestly. Okay, I'm seeing somebody say August or July is probably when SummerSlam is going to be going on. I'm looking at the current pay-per-view card right now, and I was able to take it up to Extreme Rules. It looks like we've got the Backlash event. That's going to be coming up on May 21st. And then after that, you've got Extreme Rules. Looks like Extreme Rules is going to be happening in June. I would imagine if it's not after that one, maybe it is going to be in August. Now, I think the main question is, can you afford to have Roman Reigns be off TV for that long, significant period of time? Because what may be considered to be a short term to you and me, that's not really nothing, especially like if SummerSlam is in July or August. That's like nothing to you or me, but to WWE, that could be a significant blow when you think about it from a merchandise sales standpoint, tickets at the gate, all that jazz. So it's a serious gamble. I think the only way they would be able to really tell if this is something that they could afford to do for just a couple of weeks, let Roman stay off of TV, let folks almost kind of forget about him, and then honestly bring him in maybe about a month before SummerSlam to build up a program with Braun Strowman, because you know Roman's got to get this back. You know he's got to get that momentum coming right back to him. I know a lot of you Braun Strowman fans, I'm a big Braun Strowman fan myself. Any longtime listener knows this, but you know storyline wise, Roman's going to come back and he's going to beat that ass. You know that. So be prepared. So let's be realistic. Keeping that in the back of our minds, we're probably going to be seeing a scenario come about where Roman could show up as early as a month before SummerSlam. Then he goes on ahead, engages in this program with Braun Strowman. Of course, another scenario that could play out, as I mentioned on the show, we could see a scenario come about where, honestly, it could be Roman facing Brock Lesnar potentially for the WWE Universal title. That's another angle that could play out. Or it could very well be Finn Balor taking on Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. There are so many scenarios that are like at WWE's disposal as far as figuring out what they could do leading up to SummerSlam. It's not even funny right now. And I'm just talking about from the Raw side of things. But the ring psychology for this matchup between Roman and Braun, honestly, it went exactly how I thought it would go from the moment that Roman Reigns came out and you just see he's all bandaged up. You're like, okay, that's a walking target right there. I mean, anybody that has watched the sport of professional wrestling for a significant period of time, you know, when you see somebody bandaged up, all right, target, here's your gimmick target match. All right, so we know what the attacker's going to be going for in this matchup. They're going to be going, licking their chops, going for those wounds right there. So it went exactly as, honestly, I thought it would go down. And, you know, look, I know Roman gets a lot of heat, man. I know he gets a lot of heat from those that just really feel like he's being shoved down their throats way too much. But the one thing I've never seen anybody really complain about when it comes to Roman Reigns that I don't think there's any denying, the man is able to go in there and he's able to deliver some good matchups. I've never seen him in a 2-star quality type of matchup. And I know we're going to have people that's going to be like, but he's only able to do this certain amount of moves. And it's like, well, first off, I would suggest you go check out what he was doing before he came up on the main roster. And honestly, just really, and I think I gave the best analogy a couple of months back. I said, if I were to describe Roman Reigns moveset to somebody, I would describe it as Hulk Hogan meets Rhino. I can't remember the third person. I want to say maybe I put Goldberg in there. Not really sure now because it was so many weeks ago. But basically, he's got like a combination of those three guys. The first two for sure I had mentioned. And honestly, oh, John Cena. I said that the combination was John Cena, Rhino, Hulk Hogan. And I told you guys, I said, honestly, there's nothing wrong with a combined move set like that. There's honestly nothing wrong with that. What's more important is who exactly is his dance partner, because whoever his dance partner is, honestly, I've yet to see Roman Reigns in a 5-star quality match. I will definitely admit that to you all. What I have been seeing of him since he's come up the roster, honestly, I average anywhere between a 3.5 out of 5 to, on some given nights, and I can only count a handful of them, I've only seen a handful of 4-star matches that he's been able to give. But average, he's doing 3.5 out of 5. That's actually not too bad considering. So keeping all that in mind, I just feel that sometimes this guy gets so much of a bad rep that a lot of us fans, we overlook the littlest things, which is the fact that he's able to go in there night after night. And if it calls for him getting a significant ass beating, then he's going to get that ass beating. And he takes that ass beating very well. And tonight being one of those main points. So definitely, I am continuing to speak the gospel for him. And I'm continuing to speak the gospel for Braun Strowman. These guys are going to be forces to reckon with for years to come in the WWE. They just got to continue to have the right booking, right storylines. You know the drill. So that was pretty much the closer of our Payback main event match. I thought that was pretty good to close it out. So we had no Brock Lesnar on this event. And as you all see, based on the title of this episode, if you're checking it out via YouTube, Brock Lesnar absent. So did it hurt the event? Kind of plays up on what we talked about earlier this week on the show, which you can catch every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern live on Spreaker.com after SmackDown goes off the air. If you can't catch it live, no problem. You can scoop it up on demand and on the downloads on various platforms. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you are, give me the thumbs up. You're new, welcome, subscribe so you don't miss out on the great content we put out for you guys every single week. But I brought up earlier this week on the show that one thing that was very noticeable to me is the fact that there was no Brock Lesnar on this card defending the WWE Universal title. I don't want to go into the whole spiel of that once again. I would strongly encourage you guys to go check out the Call That Match edition for Payback. I pretty much had talked about this in the first 20-minute opener, and I made some very valid points. And I really want people to home in and really listen to what I'm saying during the course of that Call That Match edition, because I had a couple of people that were like, well, I don't have a problem with Brock Lesnar's limited dates. If you really pay attention to what I was saying about the whole Brock Lesnar deal, I was not homing in on his limited dates. What I had a problem with was the type of content that is not being sponged out of Brock Lesnar to make up for when he's away from the company. So really go back, some really great insight I had put with regards to that. Overall, and thus why, if you really stop and think about it, probably the first in a long time. This is the first Payback pay-per-view in a long time where the main title, in this case, your WWE Universal title, not being represented here. Okay, well, what about maybe, I don't know, the WWE title? Nah, the champion's going to be there, but the title isn't being defended at this pay-per-view. No. So you're keeping all that in mind and you're going, wow, so we pretty much have a pay-per-view that is honestly going to be about the United States tag titles, right? The tag titles were not even on the line tonight with regards to this pay-per-view event, right? So you had the United States title that was on the line, and you had the women's title that was on the line for Raw, and you had the cruiserweight title that was on the line. That was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. So keeping all of that in mind, you're kind of going, wow, this is some new uncharted territory that the WWE is finding itself in right now. Well, Lee, how did they do overall? I thought overall, with regards to the card, I got to say they get a passing grade. There were some areas that left me kind of scratching my head a little bit, kind of wondering why did they go about it this way. I'll talk about that in a few seconds. Pre-show, let's really start off with that one. Pre-show match, that was actually pretty good, by the way. I actually had enjoyed the pre-show. Love seeing Renee Young. Love seeing my man, Jerry the King Lawler. Always happy to see Jerry the King. And we had Sam Roberts once again. Pre-show match, we had Enzo Amore, Big Cass. They defeated Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. That was a chump change match. That was about 6 minutes plus. We pretty much saw Enzo Amore, Big Cass pick up the win via roll up. It was a quick roll up, kind of like out of nowhere, that took Gallows and Anderson by surprise. Decent matchup. I can't really sink my teeth anymore into that match, sadly, because it was like that freaking short. Pretty much by the time you go to the fridge, grab yourself something to drink, boom, match is over. Next matchup, I actually love the opener. It was about almost 20 minutes strong. Chris Jericho taking on Kevin Owens for the United States title. Remember the stipulation that was placed on this matchup. Should Jericho win the title, he would then be transferred over to SmackDown. And that's exactly what happened. Chris Jericho defeated Kevin Owens via Walls of Jericho to become once again the WWE United States champion. And as a result of that, Jericho automatically heads over to SmackDown. I don't know about you all, but me personally, I actually enjoyed this matchup more than what they did at WrestleMania, believe it or not. For me, it just kind of seemed like what they did at WrestleMania, they were kind of filling each other out. That's honestly how it came off to me. Whereas when I saw them tonight, they really seemed to be a bit more comfortable with each other. I don't know. Now, look, I know Jericho has faced so many men over the years, and he can bring out the best in anybody, usually, especially the first time he locks it up with them. I'm not dare saying that the first encounter between Jericho and Owens at Mania was bad, but it didn't quite. And I wasn't the only one that was actually coming at you this way. There were actually a lot of people that really felt like this matchup at WrestleMania did not live up to the expectations that a lot of people were picturing in their minds. Granted, we know Jericho is getting up there in age, but some would actually make the argument that Jericho is having like the best in-ring run right now. And this is coming from longtime Jericho fans, right? I, being definitely a longtime Jericho fan, yeah, he slowed down a little bit, but he is still able to go out there. What is he now? 46, maybe pushing 47. He's still able to go out there on any given night and have a pretty entertaining matchup for the most part. But that first encounter at Mania, it didn't live up to the hype, I personally felt. But I thought tonight, the guys, they kind of redeemed themselves just a little bit. I thought this encounter edged out just a bit more. But they did good. I got to give it up to them. I like the time that was actually put into this, allowing them to tell their story. It was actually a pretty good matchup. Love that one. Now, I saw so many people that really could not choose just who was going to be a straight up winner for this matchup, because so many people, they're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because Jericho is going to be leaving. So he's going to be touring with Fozzy. So it doesn't even matter. Can I just tell you all something? Can I let you all in on a little something? When it comes to Jericho, expect the unexpected. Anybody that has been a longtime listener of my show knows this. When it comes to Jericho, just when you think you know his last date with the WWE, just when you think you know this is it, we're not going to be seeing him for a while, the guy is always surprising the hell out of you. He might be gone 1 week and then he shows up the very next week, right? Something weird like that always happens. So my best advice that I can give to you guys is expect the unexpected. Now, just dealing with the circumstances that came about from tonight's event going forward, I honestly would not be that surprised if a scenario comes about where maybe, I don't know, maybe Jericho loses the strap right back to Kevin Owens on SmackDown. I could maybe see some type of a scenario like that coming about. Owens is owed a rematch, right? So I could definitely see something like that coming about. Owens gets back his heat, gets back the title, shelves Jericho. That's pretty much it for Jericho for the time being. I must admit, bit surprised that Jericho is now pretty much going to be going to SmackDown whenever he is done with Fozzy and other projects. But at the same time, Jericho wins either way, because if you really stop and think about it, and this actually eluded me because honestly, it's so funny because I actually had Owens retaining the title, but if I really would have stopped and thought about it, I would have went with Jericho winning the title back, because remember I said Jericho losing the title. Nah, he likes that live element feel. He likes being able to say Raw is Jericho. But then if you really stop and think about it, well, crap, man, SmackDown is now live, and SmackDown's been getting a lot of buzz ever since it went live last year. So Jericho wins either way if you stop and think about it. So yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that, believe it or not. So good matchup though. Moving on to our next matchup, we saw Austin Aries. By the way, I love the order of the actual pay-per-view card itself so far up to this point. So we went from Jericho, Owens, and then we go to Austin Aries, Neville. Fantastic matchup, man. Those two guys, they were tearing it up once again. I'm paying attention to this particular matchup, and I'm wondering to myself how much of a factor is maybe TJ Perkins going to be playing, because I'm going, okay, well, with this somewhat new alliance that Perkins has with Neville, surely it's going to be scratch my back, I'll do the same in return. So, but no, Perkins was actually not a factor in this matchup in any type of way. And I got to tell you, that was quite surprising for me. It was just pretty much a straight up classic encounter between these two guys. These two, and you know what? I felt rather happy that my man Neville and my man Austin Aries got an actual spot on the pay-per-view card. And I love the fact that, and I don't know if maybe Jericho and Owens went to bat for these guys or what, but just the fact they were able to come on and follow up after Jericho and Owens, I thought that was really awesome, quite honestly, because I know so many people were looking at what these guys did at WrestleMania and were like, how can these guys be on the damn pre-show? You just looked at the two names alone and you were like, this is going to be a classic encounter. And sure enough, it lived up to the hype. That is one match from this year's WrestleMania that did truly live up to the hype. So I was actually very, very proud, very happy that these two guys actually got a spot on the pay-per-view card itself. I know 205 gets a lukewarm reception from a lot of people, but for what it was worth, great matchup that we had. Happy that it was on the actual card. Closing moments of the match, we saw both guys duking it out. Austin Aries had connected with a big elbow drop to Neville, make him drop to his knees. Aries goes for the discus forearm, but that gets blocked. Neville misses a kick. Aries tries to connect with a chin breaker. Aries would then go for a big running shot into the corner. He would then go back up to the top rope, trying to look for a 450 splash, but Neville was able to get to his feet in time. Neville climbs up, but Aries claps him. Aries connects with a sunset flip from the corner. Able to basically turn that sunset flip into the last chancery. Neville managed to reach for the bottom rope, just barely, mind you. And in the course of that, he actually grabs onto the hand of the referee. Neville ends up pulling the referee into them to break the hold, and the referee calls for the bell. I gotta tell you, this was like a finish that just kind of had me scratch my head a bit and kind of go, wait, did this actually happen? Like, we normally see something like this play out any other time. And here's a scenario where, like, the match usually continues. But in this case, the match is being thrown out. Neville's being DQ'd. So I like the fact, look, we can agree that was a bit of a crappy finish. It was definitely like left turn, right, out of nowhere. but it keeps Austin Aries in the picture again. The fans actually reacting to this quite well. They actually were under the impression that maybe Aries was going to get it, but once again, we got Aries continuing to chase after Neville for the title. I thought for sure, again, I thought it at WrestleMania. I thought it with this pay-per-view tonight that Aries was going to become the new Cruiserweight champion, but looks like he's going to be chasing after Neville just a little bit longer. And if you really kind of stop and think about it, I'm actually okay for it for the time being, because when you think about 205 Live, honestly, this is truly the best thing that is going on right now for the Cruiserweight division. So I think at this point it's safe to say WWE is going to try to milk this out for all that it's worth. So I'm actually fine with this. I mean, the guys, they really gel together. I mean, honestly, you do this right and you keep it fresh. Mind you, you got to do what you can to keep this fresh to really make the fans want to continue to stay invested in it. You could milk this out for another 2 months if you really want to go there. You could definitely milk it out for another 2 months. But great matchup there that we had. Silly little finish, but it is what it is. Hardy Boys, they had defeated Cesaro and Sheamus to retain their WWE Raw Tag Team titles. Little bit of a short match. It was about almost 13 minutes long. My man Jeff Hardy, just like Isaiah Thomas and Celtics taking on the Wizards earlier today, lost a tooth legitimately. Was not bleeding as profusely as Isaiah Thomas was, but he still lost a tooth. So it looks like the Tooth Fairy is going to be visiting 2 people tonight, mind you, right? Great matchup between these 2 guys. Like I told you all with this matchup, I was expecting for the Hardys to get the job done in picking up the W. Post-match, I told you all is where things were really going to get interesting. And my exact words that I said to you all, there's no way this match is going to end once again with all 4 men holding each other's arms up high, that somebody was going to beat the living tar out of the other team. And I told you all that it would be Cesaro and Sheamus that would do the deed. They would be the attackers. They would jump the Hardy Boys. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. But I even tried to go a step further and say that maybe Cesaro was going to be in a situation where, like, he basically was going to react to Sheamus, and maybe Cesaro somehow inadvertently gets bumped. Somehow he gets attacked by accident and he just pretty much loses his cool and he just has at it. But no, the story that was actually kind of being told in this one was basically Cesaro and Sheamus both having the same brainwave, just going, the hell with this, man. And they just started going to work on both Hardys after the match was over. Actually, let's pick it up towards the final moments of the match and give you all the proper setup. So closing moments of the match, we saw Matt Hardy. He was unloading on Cesaro. That got a pretty nice, good pop from the crowd as they actually were really relishing over his broken mannerisms and all that, because that was just spamming throughout this matchup. Matt comes off the ropes with an elbow to the neck and hits with the side effect. That only got him a 2 count, though, as Sheamus had broke it up. Jeff makes the save eventually, ends up leaping off the apron to Sheamus on the floor. Matt slams Cesaro and goes to the top. Matt tries to look for a moonsault, but Cesaro moves, and Matt Hardy crashes hard on the canvas. Cesaro then connected with a springboard corkscrew uppercut. Matt goes for a ride on the Cesaro swing that actually went up to 20. Yeah, usually we get 10. This one went up to 20. Cesaro then applied the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring, but Matt managed to actually grab the bottom rope with a little bit of help from Jeff Hardy. Sheamus would come, floor Jeff Hardy, and after that we saw Cesaro. He runs into a big boot from the corner. Matt gets back in there, tries to get to the top, but Cesaro uppercuts him. Sheamus tags in, climbs up for a super white noise. And it's very rare we see a super white noise from Sheamus at the top of the rope, top turnbuckle, connected. I thought for sure that was going to be it. Somehow Matt Hardy manages to kick out of that one. We then see Jeff. He tried to go in for the save, so that's how the match ended up continuing. Jeff gets sent to the Jeff sends Cesaro to the floor. Forgive me. Jeff then leaps off the apron, but Jeff catches him. There's a series of counters. Matt manages to dodge the bro kick. Sheamus fights off the twist of fate. Sheamus drops Matt Hardy with a DDT, only for a 2 count. Sheamus blocks another twist of fate before Jeff tags back in. Sheamus slams Matt, thinking that Matt is the one that is the legal man, when in fact it's actually Jeff Hardy. And Jeff goes up to the top, hits a swanton bomb on Sheamus, and that was pretty much your 1, 2, 3. And as I said to you guys post-match, arms were raised, and then shortly after that, we pretty much saw Sheamus. He attacked Matt Hardy. Soon after, Jeff's trying to come to his brother's aid, but wasn't able to get to him in time, as Cesaro attacked him, and that is pretty much how things had ended. Cesaro, Sheamus being very bitter sore losers. So honestly, like this new layer that's coming about, must say it's been a good minute since we've seen a heel Cesaro. I know WWE has tried passionately to do what they could with a face Cesaro, but I kind of question if this is really the right direction that the company should be going in, because Cesaro respectfully has his amount of followers. People don't really care too much for Sheamus, but at the same time, defending WWE standpoint, well, Cesaro is going to have his fans regardless, whether he's a face, a tweener, or a heel. So it is what it is. So I'm actually fine for this. And then not to mention, at the same time, if it means that you're going to be able to prolong a babyface Hardy run longer, then I'm all fine for it, especially if it also means that the end game could potentially be Broken Hardy showing up in the WWE universe. I want y'all to marinate on that, because I am going to be talking about the House of Horrors match and some very key notes that I had mentioned to you guys earlier this week with regards to the show for that particular matchup. But good matchup between those guys. Honestly, just felt a little bit too short. If I could go a little bit of a step further, if I can go a little bit extra than that, I would have to say it came off like a Raw matchup. Here is where I honestly feel that, okay, now instead of it feeling like a pay-per-view quality type of match, now it's kind of feeling like a Raw caliber type of match, maybe kicking off the second hour of Raw, right? That's exactly how this matchup with the Hardys taking on Cesaro Sheamus felt. Next matchup, Alexa Bliss. She defeated Bayley for the Raw Women's title. Wasn't surprised at this matchup whatsoever. I must admit, was not surprised. I love how my girl Alexa Bliss actually came out and she was wearing the LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers inspired colors. She is born and raised from Ohio, after all. So I actually was loving the fact that she was kind of representing a little bit with those hometown colors, representing her hometown team. Love that. Great matchup between these girls. Let's pick it up towards the end of the matchup, and I'll give you guys my candid thoughts on the new title change coming about. Again, very short match. Probably lasted about, I want to say, was it about 10 minutes? Yeah, a little bit over 10 minutes, give or take. But the closing moments of this matchup, we actually saw Bayley. She had dropped Bliss on her face first, turned it face first into a top turnbuckle maneuver. Bayley had connected with a suplex and an elbow to the back. She then tried to go for a sliding clothesline and shoulder thrust into the corner. Bayley would connect with a side suplex. That only got her a 2 count, though. Bayley goes up to the second rope, hits with the elbow, followed up with Bliss blocking a Bayley to Bayley suplex and sent Bayley into the turnbuckles. Bliss steps on Bayley, climbs up to the top. Bayley cuts her off, though, with a series of forearm strikes as she begins to climb up as well. She tries to go for a super Bayley to Bayley, but Alexa Bliss made sure she denied that because she knew exactly what was going to be coming from that. Bliss actually managed to connect with a sunset flip powerbomb to the mat That only got her a near fall. Bliss would continue talking trash and slams Bayley. Bliss would how did it come about? Bliss would then try to do another series of attacks on Bayley. Bayley managed to one last hurrah come back with a series of strikes of her own, connecting with a running knee. Bayley goes to the top, hits the big Macho Man inspired elbow drop that only got her a 2 count. Bayley would end up getting sent to the turnbuckle and the ring post, which honestly set up Alexa Bliss to connect with a out of nowhere Jake the Snake Roberts DDT for the pin, the victory, and is your new WWE Raw Women's Champion. I got to tell you, man, look, and I got to give a shout out to my good friends over at Epic Sports, man. I had talked about this very candidly on the show, and it was so amazing because, like, I was candid about my critique of Bayley's run so far on the WWE roster, way before she even became a Raw Women's Champion, and especially after she became a Raw Women's Champion. And I pretty much was like, look, in-ring talent-wise, yeah, Bayley's a little bit kind of botchy here and there, but for the most part, she's decent in the ring, but where she's struggling the most is on the mic. And I even brought up the fact that that's why you see so many people that are very, like, involved in her segments. The girl can't, like, just talk on her own. There's usually some type of supporting cast of other people that's trying to help her carry that segment, and here she is. She's the Raw Women's Champion and all. And it was so funny because Epic Sports, they basically took that part of the conversation in the show and they uploaded that, and it was unanimous. There was like probably the ratio at the time, it was like 38 to like 3. And then within a 24-hour period, I watched it skyrocket from like 38 likes to, I think it was like almost, I want to say almost 40 dislikes. And it was amazing. I'm like going through the comments and everybody was agreeing with me. I think what probably ended up happening, as is the case in a lot of situations, you have somebody that is a super fan of a particular wrestler. In this case, somebody that was probably a particular fan of Bayley, probably part of a Bayley's fan club or whatever. And they're attacking our hero. Let's make it count where it hurts. And I swear to you guys, I swear to God, I think exactly that's what had happened. And I know Bayley fans, super hardcore Bayley fans, they're going to feel the way that they're going to feel. They're going to feel that Alexa Bliss is not deserving of a title run. And honestly, when you ask them why, they're just going to be like, they're probably going to give you some half-assed answers, which they may feel honestly is the gospel. They may personally feel like, well, because Alexa Bliss sucks and Bayley just freaking rules. That could very well be the case for them. That's probably what they're going to say. But if you really kind of stop and you think about it, sadly, Bayley just has not been able to really hold her own on the microphone. And that milk-faced baby run of a character with limited mic ability can only go but so far. And honestly, there is nothing wrong with Bayley now being in a position where she's chasing after the champion. Think of when Ric Flair was being chased after by Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, a guy who pretty much has been a face like all of his career, right? Wanted to go the heel route, but it's like, nah, baby, that ain't gonna happen. You know, so it is what it is. You got to work with what you got. So, and I thought it was kind of interesting that during the pre-show, they had Sasha Banks talking about the whole situation. And I like how Sasha Banks said, nah, man, Bayley doesn't need me to fight her battles. She doesn't need me to speak on her behalf. She's a grown woman. She knows how to go out there and represent herself and hold it down. She's going to do what she needs to do. So I like the fact that there was no Sasha Banks involved in this. It pretty much was all about Bayley trying to represent, hold it down against Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss has just been on a phenomenal roll. It gives me such euphoria to be able to say I actually watched the career of Alexa Bliss and NXT, saw a lot of potential in this girl. I remember this girl when she first came up. I remember when she had the whole sparkling cheerleader type of outfit that was going on, quite honestly. And to see her evolve from that to what she was doing with Blake and Murphy and just everything that she was able to accomplish in NXT before coming up on the main roster. And I kept telling y'all, I said, man, this girl has all the ingredients of being like the second coming of Trish Stratus, and she has just been a skyrocket since coming up the main roster. Just phenomenally able to adapt very well to the live crowds, able to think on her feet when she finds herself in a hostile environment where the crowd is trying to heckle her or whatever. You can just see her brain just working, trying to figure out something witty, but is able to do it in a timely manner. It's not like a 5-minute delay where she's thinking about what she's going to say. I mean, she's able to get on them right there, just like that. Really able to excel well, adapting in that type of an environment. Able to go in there and have some really good, decent matchups. I would have to say, when I look at all the women that have come through from NXT, other than my girl Charlotte to a certain degree, I can give a nod to Sasha. But if I'm just really looking at all the women from NXT overall, I honestly would have to say that my ranking so far to succeed from NXT to the main roster so far, Charlotte, number 1, Alexa Bliss, number 2. If I'm going to go with honorable mention for number 3, I'm definitely going to show some love to my girl Sasha, but I'm putting an asterisk by it because the first half of her run on the main roster was pretty good, but the second half up to now has been very ice cold. So I like what's going on with my girl Alexa Bliss right now. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with Alexa Bliss being the champion. There's nothing wrong with Bayley being in the position that she's in right now, where now she's going to be chasing after the champion. And I don't mind that. I think, honestly, she's probably better chasing after the champion. So, I mean, when you really just think about the current landscape of the women's division on the Raw side of things, boys and girls, and I am paying attention to what a lot of you guys are saying in the chat, I will be showing you all some love in just a hot second. So don't think I'm just kicking back, giving my thoughts. I am going to be showing you all some love in a second. Honestly, when I think about Alexa Bliss as a champion and I look at the current landscape of the Raw women's division, I mean, eventually you could have a great program with Mickie James. You could also go down the path of Nia Jax. Who else do you have over there? You can definitely do something with Sasha Banks, right? If you wanted to, you can go in the direction of Alicia Fox. And like Alicia Fox, it's a travesty to this very day that my girl Alicia Fox has only been a champion one time, and great body of work. I mean, when you just really add up all the matches that she's had over the years, I mean, quality matches, not no 3-minute crap. You know, like the girl's able to go in there and try to tell a story. I sometimes just feel it's a travesty that like she's not really being utilized the way she should be properly utilized. But I would love to see a scenario come about where she's able to try to shine once again and at least engage in a really good feud. But I'd love to see her name be thrown into the mix. Who else is over there on the Raw side as far as the women go? I'm just kind of almost drawing a blank. I hope I haven't gone through like all the women that's on the card now, but like honestly, just those names alone, you can pretty much do some pretty good stuff with those women. So I'm happy for Alexa Bliss, and I see based on some of what you all are saying, like my man Navy Green, he's saying Bayley has lost momentum, and you can't go from a Bayley segment to a Braun Strowman segment. Yeah, well, you know, give or take. Other than that, let's continue on, man. So here is where I have some very interesting thoughts. Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, House of Horrors match. Can we all be in agreement? Just storyline wise, how could Braun Strowman lose in his own match that he created? Going back to what Randy Orton said, hey, man, I don't know what a House of Horrors match is, but yeah, whatever. If you want to fight me in that type of match, yeah, sure, I'll go there with you, whatever. So keeping that in mind, I think we can all be in agreement. There was no way Bray Wyatt was going to lose in his own gimmick match where the rules are pretty much all in his favor, right? But I think the real story was going to be how would the story be executed? What was going to be told to us from the viewing standpoint? And one of the things that I had said to you guys, I said this as early as Saturday when I was offering match predictions. I said, pay very close attention to this particular matchup, because this matchup, if I'm booking it, the way I would set this up, I would pull a page out of Impact Wrestling and I would do a lot of pre-taped stuff. I would have a lot of pre-taped content and have it go down in such a way where you would see the first half and the second half would culminate in the middle of the ring. There was also a part of me that kind of felt as though you could probably get away with an entire pre-taped segment altogether. But I told you all to pay attention to this particular matchup, because the pre-production segments alone was going to serve as a soft beta test for an eventual Broken Hardy. And when I put that out there, I wasn't saying that just to be saying that. I was really talking about it from the standpoint of, if what WWE was able to do with all of these pre-taped segments, if it was a success, an overwhelming success amongst the crowd, then this could definitely give WWE the necessary ammunition that they would need to go, okay, so on top of a majority of fans kind of knowing what Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy have been doing outside of the WWE in the broken universe or in the broken world, okay, we also were able to execute this really cool thing with Bray Wyatt. Not to mention, there was also a part of me that was paying attention to these pre-taped segments going, this could also be seeds planted in how WWE would like to go direction-wise with Bray Wyatt going forward to what could potentially be just storyline-wise a very monumental feud with Finn Balor. Check out the past 2 episodes of the RCWR show where I talk very candidly about how they could probably go about that rivalry, Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. So for me, this House of Horrors match served those 2 purposes. It served potentially being a taste of things to come in the direction WWE wanted to go with Bray Wyatt, and this segment, this match could also serve as a soft beta test for how to kind of go about approaching a broken Matt Hardy. Now, before I go any further, I know we got some people that's like, it's not going to happen, because Rebby Hardy said, I want to remind you all once again, Jeff Hardy said in numerous interviews, oh, yeah, man, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to do WWE. We're not going to be able to go back anytime soon. We have these other commitments, blah, 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 here. Then the week of WrestleMania, oh, no, it's not happening because blah, 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 blah. And they show up at WrestleMania, and it turns out they had been locked in and loaded to come back to WWE for like a couple of weeks in advance. Based off of the interview I had saw the Hardys give, I think it was Jeff, that revealed some nice, interesting tidbits. So I believe in my heart of hearts that WWE is working on something as far as introducing the Broken Hardys to the WWE universe, and I'm all fine for that. Now, keeping all that in mind, I'm not beating around the bush. I'm not being long-winded. I'm just basically setting it up because now I can go for the jugular. Here it is. I have been saying this over and over and over again, and I want to go on record for this, and I think a lot of you all will agree with me on this. First off, anybody with social media, did you all see the infamous series of videos that were going around saying how much the SAP Center did not appreciate the House of Horrors match? And you heard a lot of people in that video of those in attendance live chanting boring. You know why they were chanting boring? They were chanting boring because they were forced, for more than 2 minutes, they were forced to look at a Titantron to basically watch like about 10 minutes of pre-taped footage. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that was just wrong on so many levels, and I'm going to explain to you the reason why without going overkill. it was wrong from the standpoint of, look, when you go to a live event, any live event, doesn't matter if it is a sporting event, it doesn't matter if it is a musical event. When you're going to the event, you are going to see that act live in person. You're going to bring your phone, you're going to bring your cameras, you're going to do everything you can to record great footage, take awesome pictures. The last thing that you're honestly going to do is go to a live event and basically watch something that's pre-taped for a long period of time, not unless it's some type of a tribute video, or it's, you know, maybe they're doing a kiss cam or something like that. You're not going to be looking at a Titantron for an extended period of time because you're there to see the live action. Now, granted, it's one thing if you have these nosebleed seats that, like, you got no choice but to look up at the Titantron because you're also getting to see the action that is happening center stage a bit closer. But to have your eyes be drawn to a Titantron to watch a pre-taped segment longer than 5 minutes, that is really testing the patience and the endurance of your consumers, I personally feel. And I just think from that standpoint, WWE was wrong having that mentality. So I actually can kind of, to a degree, defend how the fans were feeling when they were being forced to watch that. Because just marinate for a second. When we saw Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt finally bring the action to the ring, the fans didn't crap on that. As far as they were concerned, okay, now we got the matchup. Now we got some in-ring action. This is what we wanted. Great. But to force them to see the pre-tape stuff, not cool. Now, what I've been saying off and on for the past couple of years, and I've been a big, big advocate for this, and I would like to see WWE psychology change going forward. And I think tonight is a hard lesson for WWE to learn, but they can learn in a positive way from this. You need to create unique experiences that has the fans in live attendance go, hey, it's awesome coming to a WWE live event. I've been saying this and I will continue to say it until I see it change. But WWE needs to give those that are checking out the events live in person a unique experience in such a way where if you're going to show 10 minutes of something that is pre-taped, for that live crowd, you basically show them a bonus match that is going to be for their eyes only. Or maybe you have a WWE Hall of Famer to show up, talk to the crowd for a little bit. Give the fans something exclusive. That way it increases the ticket buys. It increases the gate prices and all that for your WWE live events, because it's like you never know what's going to happen at a WWE live event. And I think if you kind of operate in that standpoint, you can win a lot of folks over. So just imagine that for a second. Imagine you're at a WWE live event and you get a bonus match that's not going to be seen on the WWE network. It's pretty much for your eyes only, right? And then for those that's watching at home, they're going to be able to see exclusive bonus content, right? They're going to be able to see exclusive bonus content that the live crowd is not seeing. They're going to be able to see some type of awesome, as in the case, the first half of the House of Horrors match. I think for those watching at home, visually and all that, it was fine. I loved it. It was creepy. It was very different. It was like, wow, this is WWE kind of being heavily influenced by, no doubt, what they probably saw was happening with the Broken Hardys and Impact Wrestling. No doubt the little bit that they were seeing and hearing from Lucha Underground. Here they are trying to do their own little unique spin to it. And honestly, I thought they did rather decent. To the polling we go now. I had polled you guys on Twitter asking you all, what did you all think about the first half of the House of Horrors segment? And I gave you 3 options. It was pretty short, pretty simple, and I'm looking at it right now. We got about 36 votes in right now. If you want to cast your vote, you can. Twitter, at twitter.com/the RCWR Show or at the RCWR Show. So far, we have 22% of you that felt it was awesome. 28% of you expected more, but you felt it was decent. And so far, a overwhelming 50% said, Lee, my brother, just didn't feel it. Now, what I like to know, just to kind of get the dialogue going, and not only is this extended to you all, but this is also going to be extended to our Epic Sports family. I like to know if you are in that 50+% that just were not feeling the House of Horrors segment. I want to know why. And what I'd like to do, if we are able to in this episode, is kind of touch upon it a little bit based on your reactions, but definitely follow up on Tuesday night. And I'll read some of you all's comments live on the air. And together, maybe we can try to understand like why. But I thought it was good. I thought, honestly, just to have the fans be there live in attendance, having them watch it on the Titantron, I just thought that was like a disservice, because it's not like everybody has a TV in front of them. Everybody's got to try to, given their position, look at a screen. And then even at that, there's only but so much they can see and hear. You know, something like that, you really got to be at home to watch. So honestly, that had no business for that long length of time being displayed in front of the crowd at the SAP Center. Not to mention, I got a hearty chuckle out of the fact that, like, it's in California. I've lived in California. I know how daylight and all that operates in California. By the time this match comes on, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was like a little bit after 9 something. I'm going, wait a minute. It's only 6 something right now in California. It doesn't get dark that damn fast. Anybody that has lived out there in California knows this. It doesn't start getting dark, honestly. Even at 7 o'clock, the sun is still out. It is actually still nice and sunny, believe it or not, right? Depending where you are. But there's still plenty of daylight at 7 o'clock out there in California. So to just at 6 o'clock Pacific time, and you're seeing Randy Orton enter this house and all that as he's pulling up inside of a black limousine and it's all pitch black. You're going, wait a minute. Yeah, this just like not, no, come on now, seriously. So I thought that was kind of funny. That gave me a nice hearty laugh. Closing moments of that matchup. Let's just pick it up. I mean, honestly, House of Horrors match, pretty much if I were to sum up the first half, Randy Orton got his ass beat so bad that what was honestly the real horror of that match, the first half, was seeing that disgusting ass refrigerator get put on Randy Orton. I mean, I can't believe that refrigerator looked like that, man. That was just a travesty, man. By the way, the tractor trailer that was moonwalking, that needs to go into the WWE Hall of Fame next year, man. I mean, that tractor was just all on its own, just moonwalking. I was loving that, man. I was having a hearty laugh looking at that tractor. But no, pretty much the first half, to sum it up, Randy Orton got his ass beat as a refrigerator was put on him. And apparently Bray Wyatt had an Uber driver come and pretty much take him to the SAP arena where he thought he was going to be able to proclaim victory courtesy of a countout. But Randy Orton somehow ended up being there live in the middle of the ring. That was actually a pretty good spot that came about. So the action had continued amongst those two guys. And after that, closing moments of the match, we had saw Randy Orton. He actually had tried to go. Oh, no, correction. Let's back up. Bray Wyatt, he had tried to go for Sister Abigail, but he managed to counter it, turn it into a RKO. He then was about to go for the cover when the guys known formerly as the Bollywood Boys, they actually ended up attacking him. Randy Orton was eventually able to fight both of those men off. But then we had Bray Wyatt. He came in once again. And I want to say this go round, Bray Wyatt, if he didn't hit Bray Wyatt with an RKO twice, for sure this go round, Randy Orton was able to connect with an RKO. But then Jinder Mahal came in, still with the WWE title, attacking the hell out of Randy Orton. That was it. It was pretty much the numbers game. When it was all said and done, it took three guys and a sister Abigail to basically make Bray Wyatt come out on top in the first ever House of Horrors match, a match that he created. So honestly, I love the booking of this matchup. You had to have Bray Wyatt. Yeah, say what you want. It took three people to basically get this done, right? It took three people, right? But at the same time, you also now got to look at what's going to be happening going forward with SmackDown. And, you know, Randy Orton is going to be pissed. Now he's truly going to be focused on Jinder Mahal, but he's also going to have his hands full with the Bollywood boys, right? So I like that element that's going on. And then you go over to the side of Bray Wyatt. He's got this great momentum building in his favor now that he's going to be riding hot off of the House of Horrors match. How much of a factor is he going to be playing lurking in the shadows? Finn Balor kind of teased it a couple of weeks ago. Now that this is pretty much behind him, is he now going to kind of be beginning the seeds of mind games on Bray Wyatt? So that should be interesting to see how that plays out. Bray Wyatt, love that House of Horrors match. I loved it. Just they got to tweak it a little bit, like I said earlier. Do that whole thing with the fans. If they can work on that a little bit, honestly. But they get a passing grade. I thought they did good with that first half. Everything all with the pre-production. I thought they did a good job on that. We did see Finn Balor on the pre-show. Just kind of going back to that one more time. He was interviewed by The Miz. Finn Balor basically saying as far as what's next for him, he wants to get back his Universal title. Miz is like, wait a minute, dude. You know who's got the title right now? It's Brock Lesnar. He's like, yeah, well, I've fought bigger men bigger than Brock Lesnar. I am all fine for the challenge. And pretty much Finn Balor really did not like the cheap shots that he was getting from The Miz. And he was like, well, you can either join the Balor Club, which isn't going to happen because the members just voted, the WWE Universe, that is. They just voted. They don't want you in the club. So you can then join my other club, the, Finn Balor Kick My Ass club. And we saw Miz. He really did not want to have anything to do with that. I actually had tried to put Maurice between him and Balor. Balor's like, dude, that's okay, because honestly, we know the running gag with your segments. It always ends with you getting your ass beat. It is what it is. And Miz was not trying to let Finn Balor go on that note. He was continuing to talk some hot trash. Actually had pushed Maurice away, and Finn Balor just started unloading on him. So it's kind of looking as though it's going to be Finn Balor and Miz. Not quite the way I had envisioned it. I was envisioning maybe Gallows Anderson, just for storyline continuity, coming out, getting in the face of Balor, saying, hey, man, you forgot about what the hell we all have been through. You forgot about Japan. What the hell, man? How you going to turn your back on us like that? You don't think we forgot what happened on Monday? I thought maybe they were going to kind of go in that direction, but they did not. Maybe that's something that they can revisit at a later date. We'll find out on that one. Appreciate you guys that are checking out the stream so far. Remember, man, if you're appreciating the show, give me a thumbs up. Looking at some of the comments that we got coming in right now, I got to show some love over in the Spreaker chat. I'm just poking my head in the Spreaker chat right here. With regards to the stipulation, Freddie is asking, how come the stipulation for the U.S. title match didn't apply to the WWE Championship match? You got me on that one, quite honestly. I honestly would have been fine for it. Would have been fine for it, but I think at the same time, considering what all was going about on the Raw side of things, I mean, when it's all said and done, Brock Lesnar is pretty much the Raw champion. And as I had said on Saturday, that is something that WWE is going to need to tackle with the quickness, because at this rate, his first title defense isn't going to be happening until July. Yeah, goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire. That's actually the name of the event, Great Balls of Fire. Even Big E was making fun of that, so I love that. But we know that Brock Lesnar is the champion over on that side of things. I think if you would have had there be some type of a scenario where you put a stipulation out there where, hey, if Randy Orton wins the title, then he automatically goes over to no, Randy Orton is the SmackDown champion. Basically, if Bray Wyatt would have won the title, then basically that title would have came on over to Raw. If you would have gone that route, then I think it's only fair by default that Brock Lesnar would automatically become the SmackDown champion. So, I mean, that's one way that you can kind of go about that if you wanted to try to go about that. Or another way, you honestly could have addressed it. Look, am I in agreement that WWE kind of dropped the ball just a little bit, not really addressing what was going on there with the stipulation? I agree with you all that feel like WWE kind of dropped the ball with that. I do agree. I think the most simplistic way they could have tackled it, simple. Basically, you could have had a scenario come about where Raw, who is it? The Commissioner Kurt Angle. Basically, he tried to see if there could be some type of a negotiation to come about with SmackDown. And basically, SmackDown, with what they were asking, it was just too much. It was too much for Kurt Angle to even entertain, and he's just like, forget it. It is what it is. They were playing a little bit hardball. They actually were playing a little bit tough. That's honestly, a way that they could have handled it. And shout out to Joe, who's asking the question, what happened to the rule saying you must defend your title in 30 days? I see this typically, and I got to tell you, and I can't stress it enough, if you guys did not represent and check out the Call That Match edition, first 20 minutes, I talked about that question that Joe brought up. I talked about the whole Brock Lesnar situation. I strongly would encourage you to, and I would even like to encourage Epic Sports, if you can, Epic. I don't know how you're going to do it, but, bring up the first 20 minutes of that Call That Match, just that piece. And I think if you all really take in what I'm saying with regards to that, that answers a lot of the questions that you all are having. If you did not check it out, it's actually on the Facebook page. You can see the video. You can see me in the flesh. And it's actually available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. I don't think it's fair to get into that whole question again when it's pretty much been rehashed just recently. That's a disservice to those that pretty much already heard it and they want to hear some new stuff. So let's keep it moving along. But yeah, honestly, the most simplistic way they could have did it was approach it that way. I'm actually okay with them not even going in that route. What I am more interested in is them addressing Brock Lesnar is champion. What is going on with Lesnar as the Raw champion? I'm more interested in that as opposed to the stipulation that wasn't made for Orton taking on Wyatt, quite honestly. Seems as though Bayley has way more chemistry with Bliss than she does with anyone else she's faced off with since coming up to the main roster. Shout out to Bliss for being the first woman to win both titles before Charlotte did. Yep. Blah blah. Bliss being Bliss being number one as far as women coming from NXT because she's shown the most improvement from her debut match on NXT up until now, all around. In-ring chemistry with her dance partners, mic skills, character growth, etc. Yep, good stuff. Let me take it to the chat. Don't think I haven't. Have we gotten over all the matches, by the way? Have we covered all the matches? I'm missing one match. Let's go ahead and talk about that, and I'll get to some more comments. Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe. I love how WWE basically was like, this is the second time that these two men have faced off. And I'm just quietly just twiddling my fingers going, yes, for the WWE Universe, yeah, but I do remember something back in 2008, Ring of Honor, Samoa Joe and Tyler Black. I remember that matchup. Anybody remember that one? Yeah, shout out to you if you do. So for me, I'm like, okay, these guys, they're definitely are very familiar with each other. This match went exactly how I thought it was going to go down. I told you all, pay attention to the ring psychology. I really hope that Samoa Joe didn't just spam the hell out of trying to go for that leg. the supposed injured leg, and honestly, just the right amount of emphasis was put on trying to re-injure that leg once again. So I love the pacing of the matchup altogether. And honestly, this matchup, it was about almost 20 minutes, almost. It's about 5 minutes shy of 20 minutes. Let's pick it up towards the end of this matchup. Pretty much we had saw, where are we here? Yeah, here we are. Pretty much towards the closing moments of this matchup, we saw Samoa Joe. He had applied a clover leaf in the middle of the ring, but Rollins managed to get to the bottom rope. Referee warns Joe as he put his boot into Rollins' face in the corner. Joe runs the rope, but Rollins jumps up with a forearm. We saw Rollins with a back elbow and a sling blade. It's a little bit more back and forth coming about. Rollins connected with a kick in the corner and a blockbuster from the corner. That only got him a 2 count, though, folks. Rollins manages from there to connect with a kick to Joe in the face. That got him another near fall. Rollins goes up to the top, but Joe cuts him off. Joe climbs up, but Rollins manages to slide up under him. Kind of shades of what went down at the live event house show that we saw Seth Rollins, where he first blew out his knee trying to do that powerbomb move on Kane, and his knee had blew out. Well, same scenario here. We saw Rollins. He tried to go for a powerbomb, but Joe's just too much of a big boy, made his knee buckle. Joe then would try to take advantage of that. We saw Joe climb up. Rollins tried to go for the power bomb, didn't go out. We did manage to see Rollins, bad knee and all, connect with a Falcon Arrow. That only got him a near count. Rollins then goes to the top, hits a big frog splash on the Joe, wastes his time by clutching to his knee once again, tried to go for the cover. That was only a 2 count. Trade more shots in the middle of the ring. Joe begins unloading with open hand strikes. Rollins drops Joe with a kick. Rollins gets wound up, and Joe manages to grab him for a sleeper hold. Looks like he's going for that signature move that could pretty much be lights out. They end up on the mat as Rollins begins to try to do the best that he could to go for a pin attempt. Joe floors Rollins with a clothesline, gets the hold applied once again. Rollins drops down from out of nowhere, puts Joe into the pin, and surprises him. Yeah, it was really weird how it ended up, because it was like somehow Rollins was able to take the sleeper and basically use Joe's weight to his advantage, where he was somehow able to turn it into a cradle and pick up the 1, 2, 3 that way, as Samoa Joe is just left in the ring, pretty much flabbergasted. So I'm not quite getting the vibe that this is it for these two men just yet. And honestly, it kind of plays back to what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago when I was telling you all that Samoa Joe, Seth Rollins, they're probably going to be locked up for at least the next 2 months. I'm still actually getting that vibe, because I did not, and I think a lot of you all that watched it tonight as well could probably back me up on this. This wasn't definitively the end. I don't think it's definitively going to be the end until Seth Rollins does that new trademark, that knee to the face, or as you all are kind of dubbing it now, the Kingslayer. I don't think it's officially going to be over until that pretty much comes about. So we'll have to see how that comes about in the coming weeks, man. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw a rematch between those two guys, quite honestly. But he looked pretty damn pissed after that match was over. Like, Samoa Joe he looked like he couldn't believe he lost in that fashion, quite honestly. So other than that, I honestly would have to say, with regards to Payback, I'm just looking at the entire card altogether. I'm even including the pre-show. I would have to say probably the matches that jump out to me the most, I would have to give it up to Jericho, Owens, Aries, Neville, Bailey, Alexa Bliss, For what it was worth, I actually enjoyed Wyatt, Randy Orton, contrary to how some people may feel. I actually had enjoyed that matchup. A couple of hiccups here and there, but overall, I actually enjoyed that matchup. Strowman Reigns, I actually enjoyed that matchup as well. So, I mean, I just pretty much went over almost half the card that I actually enjoyed. I mean, in retrospect, I really didn't care too much for the pre-show. Kaz, Amori, Gallows, Anderson, I really didn't care too much for that matchup. Hardy's taking on Cesaro, Sheamus, it just really felt like the second hour of Raw. It felt like that type of a matchup. Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe didn't have a main event feel to it. That actually felt like a Raw main event. That was like your closer for the night. But still a decent match overall. But it didn't have that pay-per-view fight feel to it. I will definitely admit that. So I kind of got to just respectfully take those matches out of the equation. So, I mean, if we're being technical, I really had issue with 3 matches out of the 8 total. So you're left with 5. I think that's a pretty good ratio. It definitely gets a passing grade for me. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the crappiest, 10 being the awesome sauce. I would give Payback. I'm leaning more towards a 6.5. I'm tempted to give it a 7, but I'm gonna stay firm. I'm gonna stay with a 6.5. Let's get to you guys' comments here. This is actually my favorite part of the show. By the way, in the coming weeks, I'm actually gonna try to bring back the phone line for you all to call in whenever I'm live, so that way you all can have another method in touching bases with me and all that during the shows. Let me see what is going on in the Spreaker chat here. See if we got anything interesting going on. Do I have an issue with Dean Ambrose Intercontinental Championship not being on the card tonight? Yes and no. On the one hand, I wish that every single title that was available on the Raw side of things could have been represented on this card tonight, because I really felt it needed all the help that it can get. Yet at the same time, Dean Ambrose currently, he's just in the drizzling states. So that just says to me that, now look, granted, maybe Dean Ambrose had something pretty important he needed to do. Maybe he couldn't work tonight. Who knows? But I'm kind of led to the impression that might have not been the case. But hey, we'll see what comes about in the coming days. But I quite honestly would not be that surprised if a situation had occurred where maybe, just maybe, it was a scenario where WWE is still kind of scratching their heads and figuring out what exactly do they want to do next with Dean Ambrose. So, you know, if WWE is kind of at that standpoint right now, then honestly, I'm actually fine that they went on ahead and had him off of the show tonight. But if it ain't making dollars, it's not making sense. And I mean, sense with an S, you know, SENSE. That's what I'm talking about there. It kind of baffles me a little bit that he wasn't on the card, but I can actually let that pass, considering he's a little bit stalemate right now. And let's see what else. So that looks like that's it for Spreaker. Let's go to you guys in YouTube. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here, man. I see Fortiz. He's saying Bray can never win a feud or a match by himself. Whenever WWE allows him to go over, I have a problem with that. Get that? Let's see what else we got here. I don't know why Cena's name being brought up in the chat here. I don't get that one. Reading through some more comments here. Z-Man feels that WWE really screwed this pay-per-view up bad. Let's see. Yeah, I see some mentions of the Hardy compound versus what WWE had did tonight. I see a little bit of the compound was better. I hate doing the comparisons, quite honestly. I mean, it's one thing if, like, okay, obviously you're inspired by, all right, and you're going to try to do your own unique spin. I think it's kind of sad to a degree that we have to compare. I mean, it's no different than like, fortunately, we're always in that battle of who was the best theatrical Batman. And then it's like who had the best theatrical Bruce Wayne. And it kind of sucks to do the comparisons, because if you really kind of stop and you think about it, it's like, well, each one of those guys that stepped into the cow represented that particular era that was happening in pulp culture at the time. So it's almost a generational type of deal. It's really a matter of opinion. You really just kind of have to judge that body of work on its own and judge it as an individual before you try to make it be part of something collective, right? So, honestly, I can push to the side the whole Hardy, and I can just honestly just say they were inspired, and I actually thought they did rather decent. I think for WWE fans that have been watching the product for so many years, it's honestly something that they're not gonna quite get used to. But I would dare say that for those of you that want to see the Broken Hardy, you better continue to be vocal, and honestly, rather than crap on what you saw tonight, go out of your way, try to get WWE's attention on social media and let them know, hey, look, this is what worked. This is what did not work. This is what I would like to see happen as a fan. And I don't know, maybe collectively, we can kind of make WWE kind of understand where we're coming from, right? So I would like to believe, though, that there are actually writers and all that are watching the Lucha Undergrounds, that's checking out Impact Wrestling and all that, and they are probably like well aware, okay, this is what's going on, or what's making this so successful. Wow, that's freaking on fire. And I'm sure they're learning a few things from the Hardy Boys as well. I'll tell you this much, if and when they do get ready to do this Broken Hardy gimmick, they better continue to give a majority of creative control to Hardy, because only he knows for sure how this properly needs to be executed. See what else we got going on here in the chat. Looking here on YouTube once again. Yeah, Roman Reigns ended up being put on a stretcher on Raw Talk for you guys that weren't able to check that out. Let's see what else we got here. Going through some more. Yeah, now we got the talk of TNA. How the hell did we get on the talk of I'm looking at earlier comments. Interesting. Alexa Bliss is the next Charlotte. No, I'm kind of leaning. I'm kind of leaning more towards the next Trish Stratus. Honestly, nothing wrong with the next Trish Stratus, man. Let's see what else we got here. Let me go back to Spreaker one more time. I just see a. Do I see a storyline that connects Bray Wyatt and Broken Hardys? Anything's possible. That's the short answer. I'm not going to go in the overkill on that one, but Freddie, anything is possible, man. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream on that note, man. I mean, I'm getting a little bit tired because my melatonin is starting to kick in. So I was trying to be as energetic as I could, but the Sandman is coming. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Hey, I appreciate you guys that took the time out to check out this stream. Remember, you had fun. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the hearts. Give me the likes. All that good jazz. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. By the way, for you guys that are classic movie lovers, make sure you support me on my Patreon page at patreon.com/RCWR Show. I've got my 30 with Lee series. We pretty much pump out 2 episodes a month, depending on what's going on during that month. As if there's cool movies playing in the theaters, then you get bonus episodes. But this go round, we're actually beginning the gangster series where I'm tackling some of my personal favorite gangster movies of all time. And it kicks off with 1931's Little Caesar, starring the late, great Edward G. Robinson. So only available to our Patreon members. Check that out. Some great content. You won't be disappointed. And there's going to be some more cool bonus content coming out in the coming weeks. Remember, for all the talk of wrestling, be it WWE, TNA, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, and beyond, check out the RCWR Show Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, as soon as SmackDown goes off the air. That's the show that you want to be checking out if you want to get my thoughts on some of the craziness that's happening in the world of wrestling and beyond. So tune in, check that out right after SmackDown goes off the air. If you can't check it out live, you can scoop it up on demand on iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. I am on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR Show. And that is going to do it. I am wishing you all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. YouTube, I will see you all next go round. Everybody, do take care. Good night. Good morning.